I come from a tradition of storytelling. The elders, gather the children, and under the moonlight, and tell us stories. Some of those stories are coming back to me, and it's been decades since I heard those stories, but they're part of my DNA now.
Yeah, those areas you are going there, those are really deep thoughts. Many Africans I know, many Africans don't want to talk about that because, their heart is going to quake. Yeah, they don't want to talk about those identity things, those things related to you, because for many of us, we have been told that our ancestors are evil. So yeah, if you even have a dream, you have your ancestors inside. Oh, the devil, oh God, cast them and burn them. Oh, they are responsible for all the bad things that are happening in your life. Sister Gloria was asking a question. How did you get to that point?
I think we should be very clear that what our mission is as a people is to drag ourselves up from where we've been forced down, where we've been kept away from who we are. That process started a long time ago, and unfortunately, we have been a part of enforcing it in different ways, by turning away from our culture, turning away from our traditions, embracing, foreign traditions and cultures and religions at the expense of our own, which baffles me.
Hello and thank you for checking out this video. I'm Obehi, the host of the African Diaspora Storytelling Series. Every 2 weeks we meet up on LinkedIn to talk about different ways we can leverage the power of storytelling as people of African descent. Now this is it. We are uniting the millions of Africans in the diaspora through the power of our story. It does sound like what you are interested in. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video with your friends who might need it. Now, back to today's conversation. This storytelling series is actually part of a research that I've done here in northern Italy, where I live. So, coming here in the August of 2004, and after a while, I was, I'll be a curious person. I was trying to look around about the stories of my people, the Africans that are living in this part of the world. What are their experiences? I just wanted to know. For me, I wanted to understand what is their story, but I didn't really find much that I could grab around, apart from maybe some story that were being told by the missionary. And I didn't really find myself that much in those stories. Maybe because I'm coming from Nigeria and this missionary, they are maybe talking about the other experiences in other parts of the world that they have known, maybe in Africa and all of that. But I was always sort of very rebel on that because the images presented didn't really reflect me that much. So if that even made me to write my first book here in Italy. So those were some of the things I was looking for. I didn't see them at the time. So I just said, well, if I cannot find them, then I have to do them. So I just picked my small camera at the time. I just went around and started talking to people. I just stand the camera in front of them and I just ask them question. Tell me, why are you here? So I would just record the entire episode, the entire conversation. Then I move to the next one. Do you know somebody that I'll be here too? Then they will tell me, I know some other persons who was here at the time. Okay, they will be referring back to like maybe 20 years or 30 years before them. Then, okay, do you know how I can find this person? Then maybe a number will pop up somewhere. Then I just call the individual. Hey, I'm doing a story about the presence of Africans in Verona. So you'll be here. Can I talk to you? Yes. They are always very happy to participate. I don't know if you have ever done a research before. You are talking to people and the story have to do with them. In most of the cases, they are happy to participate. Of course, even me too. There are be a number of occasions that maybe some students that are doing research about Africans here, they have contacted me, they want to interview me. I'm always available. I'm happy to participate because I think it is important because we are talking about ourselves, our experiences. It is when we air what we have in our mind that somebody can know what we have in our mind. So it was really very encouraging for me, see these different people talking to me about their experiences that have really allowed me to learn a lot because from that experiences, I did a documentary that I screened here in the city that I live in. Then I've also written 2 books from that experience. And those are really important things for me. But of course, I know that it's also important for other people that are going to be here after now because we are documenting our experiences. Now, let me say something to you so that you might sort of understand the dimension I'm talking about, so that you might understand the importance of what we are talking about here by our story. You see, there is a guy I've interviewed a number of times here in Obehi podcast. So someday somebody told me that this guy had just been shot and is dead. That is in South Africa. But this is how life is because there is no guarantee that you are going to be here tomorrow. The only time that you have to be here is right now. So if there is anything you have to do, you need to do it right now. Because imagine I've never interviewed that person, that individual. His story still will go like that. But because I have interviewed him now, his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren will be able to come and learn about him because there is a documentation of him. He, as a human being, sitting and talking. Now, I want you to pay attention. Me, as a person, I grew up never see my father when I was growing up. Okay, I knew my father. I was really very small. My father died. I was in primary 2. So you can imagine what that means. So as I have grown up now, many times I've asked, what I don't have even good pictures of my father. I have never since the age of my adolescent till where I am today. I'm 45 years old. If somebody can give me a video of my father talking, I will pay any amount of money to have it. I don't even care what my father is saying in the video. I just want to see that is my father talking. I want to picture him again. I want to hear the sound of his voice. But it's not there. I cannot see that. Now, my son, as my son is growing up, I would have been very happy to show him the picture and the videos of my father. But those are not available. So I want us to understand that what we are talking about here are actually practical things. Being able to connect our root, being able to talk about ourselves, our essence. Who are we? What experiences have we made in life? Those experiences are not yours alone because you are part of a larger reality. If you could share that story with other people, you are happy that people too. So this is sort of the basis of where we are coming from. Telling the story of the African diaspora. And of course, today we are talking about something that I also consider very important. When we also see to that we're talking about networking. What is the role of networking among African diaspora? Because that is something that I have found. Of course, we have time to talk about it. In that sometimes we believe that it is me and me alone. No, it is not true. It is not you and you alone. This journey, your life, what you are doing, your business, your story, whatever it is that you are involved in, at least from the African philosophy, you are a group of a larger entity bigger than you. So life is not just for you alone. Well, I could only go on and speak on that for a long time because we are here. So I want to thank Sister Gloria for joining us in this conversation. Also because this is something that is important for her because of what she does. So yeah, we are here just now. Other people are going to join us in the conversation. Sister Gloria, please share with the people, who are you and what is your take on the conversation, the role of networking for African diaspora?
Thank you, Brother Obehi, and greetings, everybody. Alafia. My name is Gloria Tinu Gumbadejo. I'm a Nigerian from the Yoruba culture. I'm an ordained minister, a psychotherapist, a writer, a certified ancestral lineage healing practitioner. I support African women ministers who like to add spirituality to their ministry and others in the diaspora to make cultural reconnections emotional, psychological, intergenerational healing, strengthening their identity, bringing harmony and balance to their lives through ancestral healing and reclaiming our traditions, looking back to our elders and our ancestors to gain wisdom, direction, instruction, protection in these challenging, tender times that we're living. So, networking, what a wonderful topic. Over the years, I've sort of understood networking in different ways. When people used to say, let's go and network, we'll go and, have a couple of drinks together, have some tea, coffee, chat, that was what networking for a lot of people, seemed to be. And as time went on, I found that networking, its meaning is much deeper than that. We're now living in times where networking for Africans in the diaspora is really important. Networking among Africans in the diaspora community is not only helpful, but also crucial, essential for us to thrive and prosper. By overcoming challenges, fostering meaningful connections, and prioritizing collaboration, Africans in the diaspora can harness the power of networking to build a brighter future for themselves and for our future generations. Our precious children, we need to network with one another to lift each other up. The most obvious reasons for networking would be that networking allows people to share knowledge, skills, and resources, fostering collaboration and mutual support within the community. Collaboration is so important. I was just talking to my brother earlier on, Brother Obehi, how, you know, this divide and rule thing has been around for a long time. We're still suffering from the impact of colonization and how we've been taught to be suspicious of one another, to envy one another, to, you know, anything to keep us apart from one another. But those times are changing because we are being drawn to one another. These wonderful spaces that are being created, like what we're here now doing, there's that sense of these are my people. These are people I want to succeed because if they succeed, I succeed. I'm here because you are here. You are here because I'm here. So networking plays a great part in this process. Networking facilitates access to professional career opportunities. It creates a platform for social support and advocacy on issues affecting us in the diaspora. Sometimes when I'm talking to people now, having been in these spaces and people ask to connect with me, I look at what they do. When I'm talking to people, I actually think of somebody that I've seen who has asked to connect with me. And it's raising my sensitivity, to think about my brothers and sisters, to want them to want to send, opportunities to them for them to do well. And I truly believe in doing that it rebounds, it comes back to me also. I really truly believe that. And I think it's really important in these spaces, the more we network, the more we allow that kind of mindset, that way of thinking to 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 blossom, because we need one another. Networking empowers us individually and collectively to leverage our strengths and resources for the benefit of us all and again for our future generations. In times of adversity or crisis, which pretty much we're living those times now, a strong network provides a safety net and support system for people and their families. Networking stimulates and increases our knowledge base. It drives intellectual growth, innovation, and creativity. I mean, sometimes when I look at all, people, brothers and sisters who are in these, places where we talk and we meet, and I look at, their skill base, I look at what they do, what they've accomplished, I feel such a sense of pride. I really, really. it makes me feel, I don't know, my heart swells when I look at, accomplishments of my brothers and sisters. And I want, I want them to even go higher than that. And I find that when I talk to people, a lot of times when I talk to Brother Obehi, I always say he's such a fantastic role model. There's always positivity in his thinking, no matter what it is. And I do the same. Strangers that I just meet, they tell me what they do, and I I embrace it. I praise them. I try to even explore and find out more about them. This is part of networking. Networking, it stimulates and increases our knowledge base. Like I said, even more powerful for me, networking in the diaspora reaffirms and celebrates African identity and heritage within the diaspora community. Through cultural events, storytelling, and intergenerational dialogue, we can deepen our connection to our roots and strengthen our sense of pride and belonging. Now I go into ancestral lineage healing, which is my focus and my niche. Ancestral lineage healing can play a profound transformative role in networking among Africans in the diaspora. How does this happen, you may ask? Ancestral lineage healing provides a common ground for Africans in the diaspora to connect with one another on a deeper level, really deeper level, by acknowledging and honoring our shared ancestral heritage, something that we share among ourselves. We've been blessed and given this thing. It's something that inherently belongs to us. We can build bonds of solidarity and mutual support that transcends geographical, linguistic, and cultural differences. Networking within the diaspora community often involves sharing experiences of trauma, resilience, and growth. Case in point, the recent racist and misogyny levied on Diane Abbott. It gave room for so many women of color to share similar experiences in their environs and workplace. We all came together. We all were supporting one another. Our brothers were supporting us. It was quite explosive, and lineage healing offers a framework for understanding and addressing intergenerational trauma, providing a shared language and practice for healing together as a community. And I can go on, but maybe I should yield the microphone.
Thank you so much, Sister Gloria. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that. Of course, I know that we're going to get to that, which is the ancestral healing. And it's really fundamental. It is important. And I think it's one of the reasons we should be talking. We should keep talking. I've spoken to a lot of people in the area of interview because I continuously do that. It's what I do. I love to do it, not for the money, but because I love to do it. I love to talk to people. When I look back, because sometimes I do look back to where I'm coming from in terms of my journey, I realized that the first interview I have done was actually at the police station. Let me share a bit about that with you, so that you understand that I didn't just jump into it. So I was in I think that should be the junior secondary school or high school for some. And we have been taught the Harvard couple law. It have to do with a discipline in government that if the police arrest somebody, you are not supposed to keep this person for 24 hours without being charged. And not that people will be arrested in my family, but at least I live in a town. That is called Uromi. I see a lot of things happening. So at the end of the day, when we close from school, I say, well, let me go find out. So where else do you think I'm going to find out? I go to the police station. Of course, I'm a child now. How old I was there? I think maybe like 16 or so, or 16 or 15. So I just entered the police station. I told them I wanted to speak to the DPO, which is the head of the department there, the police chief. The policeman that I met on the way thought I was a postal serviceman. I wanted to deliver an envelope to them. He said, give me the envelope, I'll give it to the DPO. I said, no, I want to talk to the DPO. Then as he was exchanging words with me, the DPO then was walking out of the office. He saw us. Then I told him what I wanted to do, that I wanted to interview him. He said, okay, no, allow him to come. Then I went inside. I really interviewed this guy. And Of course, I didn't record anything because, okay, I didn't record on my paper. I just needed to write something down. So, and it was a really very good experience. And it was encouraging for me that somebody of that caliber would listen to me. Then after that, I continued to talk to people, asking questions. So that when I got to Italy in the August of 2004, I started to look around. I didn't find what I was looking for in terms of books that I could read about the presence of Africans in Italy. I said, well, I have been talking to people all along, so let me just do that. That is my job now. And I just picked the instrument that I had with me, and I started to do that. And I can tell you that is healing even for me. It's encouraging even for me. It's satisfactory even for me. But of course, it's also good for the entire community. It is good for our people. Now, some of the things that I've learned over the years is that there is this thing that maybe I don't know why we don't do it that much among the African diaspora. Maybe some people do, but at least from my experience where I live, we don't sit down that much to sort of reflect on what is going on around. In that, okay, maybe somebody will say, oh, tell me your story. Then you just see that, then you tell the story, the another person will reflect on it, and they will give an input in that. I've been reflecting, why is it that we don't do that a lot? Because it's really, really very helpful. It is helpful in that you can talk to somebody and the person intentionally listen to you, and he grabs something from what you are saying and he regurgitates it back to you, and you get a feedback. Maybe we don't do that because we have other things that we do in line with that. Like maybe, for example, we go to churches where we dance a lot. Then we go to the parties where we play a lot of music and all of that. But what I want to say from my experience, because I've gone to universities, I've gone to secondary schools, I've gone to social center, I've gone to different places to present my work. And this, I'm talking of books, documentary that I've done about this research. And I've gained a lot of things just presenting it to people. But in most of the cases now, these are not African people. This is what I'm saying. That they say, okay, today we're going to be presenting a book. I don't know of you, where you guys live, because I'm living in Italy. I'm talking of my experience. Gloria, you are in the UK. Of course, the people in the audience, you are in different places. You are in the US, in the UK, or wherever you are. Can you share your experiences with us? Say maybe, for example, somebody is presenting a book. How many of us are really with the intention of sitting down to listen to our story? I am saying that He hears us. He helps us to grow. He helps us to be able to build our emotion. He even helps us to talk. Because now you hear some other person, maybe coming from another city, to talking about his or her experience because he is a fellow immigrant, or he has something related to you, so he's talking about this experience. Do we do that quite often? Is there somebody there that knows something that might want to share with us? Because I am still researching, I'm still trying to understand how do we leverage this, our connectivity? Because now we are together. What do we do with this now? We are connected. But okay, when we are connected, then what do we do with that? When we collect the experiences, then what do we do with that? I've interviewed a number of people. Maybe, for example, there is a series that we call Life and Legacy. In our Life and Legacy, we do interview relating to people of importance in the African diaspora, and of course also African people like W. Du Bois, people like Khadija Wisi, people like Thomas Sankara, people like Martin Luther King, people like Marcus Garvey. We have collected a lot of story around these people. But how do we explore this story and use it in a way that it can heal us, it can build our unity as a people? Because now we're talking about networking, but what do we put in the middle? Something that everybody is holding on to. All right, let me explain that a little bit. In 2015, I wrote a book that I titled That is Stream Water. Okay, that book then was accepted at the University of Verona in Italy as one of the books that the children can pick to read, because we're talking about African culture, talking about my experiences. Now, in the book, at that time, 2015, I wasn't saying anything about storytelling. I only started storytelling series last year. Yeah, last year. So in the beginning of that book, we see a picture of a man. Okay, not a picturist book, but you see a man that is telling story. The name is Okokbuje, and he lives in a village that they call Okbuje. So he is literally a storyteller. But this is the kick. The man built a house under a tree, and the tree is named Ovu. And the tree is a very big tree. So every evening, the children of Okbuje will go to the house of Okokbuje to listen to story. I mean, every evening, the children go there to listen to the story from the old man. Now, at a point in the book, I was saying, but this man have said everything he needed to say to these children, yet the children go there every evening listening to story. I don't know if any of you sort of get a picture of what I'm talking about here. Maybe when you were growing up, you go to an elderly person who tells you story, you listen to the story, and you really enjoy it as the person is talking about the story. Whether the person is having something like ukoko, like a pub that is smoking, and then the way he talks, the way he makes parable, you have a kind of a special connection to that person as he tells story. Now, there's something I want us to point out there, is that this man built a house under a tree called Ovu. Now, that Ovu, if finally expanded, can become a point of contact. In that the entire village have a point of contact. This is very popular among African literature. In that maybe you have a man that is sitting under a tree, or everybody goes there to listen to the story because the tree become a point of reference. Everybody know that we are going to meet at that point. Now, if you take a picture of the United Nations, if you take a picture of any national assembly, it is built around that. It's called the square. The village square, it is a village. But if we want to build a metropolitan city, we don't invent everything. We build it based on the proud knowledge. Meaning, what did we know before? That is exactly the copy of the village where everybody is sitting down, they are talking, they are listening, and they are learning. That is what the United Nations General Assembly look like. That is how the US National Assembly look like. We have these different individuals now coming around, they are sitting down and they are talking. Okay, sometimes they are also talking for the people. But can we get something to learn from there? There is something that is connecting all of us together. There is something that make all of us appear as we are all united in front of this entity. This is what I'm trying to get at there. Now, looking at storytelling, looking at connection, looking at the people. Okay, now there are three elements there: the people, story, and the community. How do we use where we are coming from, which is therefore our origin, to build more network among ourselves? What would you like to say about that?
Thank you, Brother Obehi. And again, thank you to all the people in the room listening. It's have great gratitude for your presence, and hopefully we can hear from some of you. Networking and the community. You know, I I have found I come from a tradition of storytelling. The elders, gather the children, and under the moonlight and tell us stories. Some of those stories are coming back to me, and it's been decades since I heard those stories, but they're part of my DNA now. And as I was having children, I since they were babies, I always told them stories, and I always put them in the stories. They were part of the stories. And now that they're young adults, I hear them talking about the stories that mom told them, and how they were the heroes in those stories. And it has it has been part of their own development. And I see how powerful it is to them living now in the diaspora, that they are. They are young Africans living here in this chaotic world, and they draw on those stories, which for me, I think, is one of the greatest things their father and I could have done for them, because they need these stories to help them with their own identity as Africans in the diaspora. Engaging in networking is so important. I mean, I'm now seeing the more and more the power of networking now that I'm very active. um, I've always been someone who likes to network, but I'm doing it in a very mindful way now. I'm looking for my brothers and sisters. I want to talk to them. I want them to talk to me. I want them to tell me their stories. I want them to tell me what makes them tick. I want them to tell me their challenges. And in doing that, I find that I can connect, because a lot of those challenges, we have different stories, but the feelings are similar. It helps me, it strengthens me. And as well as that, I want to hear the stories of other people, other cultures, because we're not islands on our own. We have as Africans in the diaspora, we have our own unique stories, but as human beings, we're living in a time when humanity is in trouble. So part of what we need to do to help us as human beings is to listen to each other, to listen to other cultures, to listen to other stories, but make sure that our own individual cultures and roots and traditions and heritage, that we embrace it. We talk about it with our full chest, as they say. We feel pride in it, because that is something that has been damaged, through colonialism, through racism, through all of that stuff. But I think we're clawing it back now. And again, with my particular work, engaging in ancestral lineage healing practices allows people to tap into the collective wisdom and guidance of their ancestors. And in networking situations, this ancestral guidance can provide clear insights, clarity, and direction for navigating challenges, making decisions, and pursuing goals collectively as a community. Networking events and gatherings can incorporate ceremonies and storytelling that honor the wisdom, resilience, and spirituality of our ancestors, fostering a sense of pride, identity, and belonging among groups of people, Africans in the diaspora. We're also creating legacies for future generation, teaching our kids the art of positive networking. We need to teach them how to network through learning, from talking to them about it, telling them the importance of it. It's so important, this networking that we're doing. I mean, when I look at, just looking at you in the audience, looking at your faces, or I feel a connection. The networking is going on. I feel as if these are my brothers and sisters. We may not look alike, we may speak different languages, but this crosses all of that. And this is the power of networking. This is, when we listen, I always say, listen with your heart. That's a different way to listen. A lot of times people don't really listen to one another. They hear each other, but they don't listen. And when you listen with your heart, you hear something different. The connection is much more powerful. And we're living in times now where we need to really foster that connectedness between us. And networking is one of the best ways to do this. I pass the microphone on.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. That is really very powerful. Yeah, that is it. The networking is the most important thing that we can do right now as a people if we want to be able to stand our ground in the world. Because like I often say here, we are hundreds of millions of people. But until we can work together, until we can have a common front, until we can have a collective interest, let's put it like that, it will be difficult for us to be able to maintain our position in the world. It is not really, you see, the animal that is going to eat an elephant is not even as big as elephant. I don't know if you are paying attention. There are these white dogs that are common in some part of Africa, particularly in the savannah. I think they are also in South Africa. They are just white dogs that are really very wide. No? They can even eat hippopotamus. They can eat elephant. They can eat any type of animal. Sometimes I think they can even kill the lion. I have taken the time to really look at the operation of this. Of course, through multimedia content this day, you can see almost everything, you know. Now, one thing I have come to learn about that is the same old idea of Ubuntu. The same old idea that when you take up a broom, you take just one stick of it, you can break it any day. But there is no person in this world that can break a broom. Nobody can break a broom. If you put the broom together, the only thing that you can do to separate them is to either untie them or literally cut them. You cannot break the broom, but you can break each stick that makes the broom. Now, if you observe those animals, you see that when they want to attack the enemy, they are, I don't know whether they have, anyway, of course they have studied it because of course they've been doing this for several hundred, maybe millions of years, I don't know, is that they attack from different area, they distract the enemy, and before the enemy knows it, they eat it alive. Now, what does that mean? If you pick one of those white dogs before any animal, say maybe for example, a monkey, and maybe the monkey are 2 or 3, depending on the size, they can easily kill that white dog. But because there are many now, they are leveraging the strength of the group. They can take down any enemy. So this is, I'm just trying to say that to mean that despite the fact that we are very numerous, we are also very resourceful. If we don't leverage our network, which is the power of the group, instead of the power of the individual, we can never make it in the world in terms of being able to hold our position. Of course, I know there are some people in Africa that are very rich. There are billions of dollars in their bank. But as a people, we are still very poor in terms of how we are able to stand our ground in the world. When the United Nations sit down to decide something, they don't consider us. The reason is, if they don't, nothing will happen. But you see, the other day, Russia decided to attack Ukraine. Until they are still there. You see, usually when things like this happen, the United States plus his best friend, UK, they will just decide to rally around, or that will join them and say, okay, we are deciding that we are going to veto that issue. They want to attack militarily. It will happen like in the case of Libya. It can happen any day in Africa. But why did they not do it in Ukraine? Why? Because there is an opponent there that is equally sizable. When that man is there, you need to negotiate. You see, Russia and the United States are actually close neighbors. You can literally walk from Russia to the United States. But the United States will never tell Russia, let's fight. Because if the fight was actually what they are looking for, they will fight there. But instead, they will go to fight somewhere. Maybe they will go to fight in Italy or maybe in Germany. What I'm actually saying is that we need to be able to leverage the power of the group. If we do that, then we will be respected in the world. We can take a cue from men like Marcus Garvey. You see, Marcus Garvey managed to organize millions of the diaspora. Suddenly, the United States was afraid. People in the West was afraid. And they need to do everything to break that down. Why? Because when a people organize, they can do anything. Okay, let me explain that. You see, have you ever seen a bridge that was built by a man? I can guarantee that you have never seen any because it doesn't exist. You cannot build a bridge by one man. To build a bridge, you need people. What that also means literally is that a people have different energy. They have different resources. They have different power. They have different capability. That would mean that you have short men, you have tall men, you have slow men, you have smart men and smart women. Of course, by men, I'm also including women. I'm not, okay, I hope you understand what I mean. So that when the time comes, you are going to leverage the energy, all of them put together, then you can do anything. If they get to the mountain and they want to boil a hole on the mountain, a people can do it, but a person cannot do it. I don't know if you are paying attention to the geopolitics that often happens in Africa, no? Is that some of the weak countries, they are very good, but the strongest one that can really make wave, they are not good enough. They are not good at all. They are always in crisis. Now, of course, talking within the politics now again, because that helps also understand the possibility of that what we can do if we were to organize, no? Is that you have a man that is very, very rich, but all around him, there are a lot of poor people. But this is what they call the idea of the strong man. And there are many in Africa. So that in Africa, we have the people of Africa are weak, but we have some few strong men. Now, that to the African geopolitics is dangerous. Why? If you want to attack a people, it will be difficult for you. But if you want to attack a man, it's very easy. You shoot him. When you shoot a man, the man dies. But how can you shoot a people? If the people in Africa or the people of Africa in the diaspora are organized, no army can stop them. Because if an army stops them, they will literally walk across it. Like a film that was done in the UK, it's called V for Vendetta. When the time of Judgment Day came, the UK army literally organized. There were really many, but the people rose up and they literally walked over them. Because you cannot kill a people, but you can always kill a man. And for African geopolitics, this strong man idea that we are having, like the Pobiyas of the world, it is the time that we take the power from them and put it in the hand of the people. Because the people can literally take the country to wherever they want to take it to. But if it is a person, an individual, you will be invited to France. By the time you make the deal there, everything is okay for you. But for your people, they will remain in their penury. So we as a people can do anything. But I, as an individual, I cannot do very much. I don't have a power. But if we organize, if we network, if we leverage the power of the network, then we can go to places. Because we really are powerful. I want to repeat that again. We are powerful, but only when we organize ourselves, when we organize our power, when we network.
I'm reminded of an African proverb. I love African proverbs. Oh boy. It says, the level of your preparation must be in accordance to the size of your mission. The level of your preparation must be in accordance to the size of your mission. We are in a state of, I believe, I know for me personally, that I feel I'm in a place of preparation. The mission is big, and in order for us to accomplish it, it'll be different for us individually. But as a people, I think we should be very clear that what our mission is as a people is to drag ourselves up from where we've been forced down, where we've been kept away from who we are. That process started a long time ago, and unfortunately, we have been a part of enforcing it in different ways by turning away from our culture, turning away from our traditions, embracing, foreign traditions and cultures and religions at the expense of our own, which baffles me. I'm an ordained minister. Yes. And I believe in God, but God to me is not some white person sitting down somewhere, in the sky. God is within us. I see God in my brother and my sister. God has to live within. And traditionally, culturally, as Africans, Olodumare, God, the divine, is something so powerful that no man can tell you that they have an authority on it. As Africans, spirituality, what we've been we have we've been given something called spirituality, which for Africans it is about the connection between the newborn, the living, and the ancestors, keeping the balance, and if you can keep that balance, it enables communities to thrive. It enables us to be uplifted. It enables us to be able to own the powers that lives within our DNA. So you have to be able to embrace who you are. And for me, that is why when the ancestral lineage healing was presented to me by my ancestors, because it wasn't something that I was looking for, I I quickly understood that this is something that lives within me, and it provides a common ground for Africans in the diaspora because it enables us to connect with one another, like I said earlier, on a deeper level. And by acknowledging and honoring our shared ancestral heritage, we can build bonds of solidarity and mutual support that transcends geographical, linguistic, and cultural differences. I mentioned that earlier. And something that really hurts me is when I see my fellow Africans who, yes, being a Christian, a Muslim, or any other religion is fine. But for you to say that those religions you hold higher than your own traditional African spiritual religions, if you want to call them, because it's not really religion, call it spirituality. That to me is problematic because it again is separating you from your roots. I have colleagues, other ministers who, as soon as they hear me talking about ancestral lineage healing, I can see them literally cringe, and I'm thinking, how how did that happen? How did you get to a place where when you hear about your people, your ancestors, that's what you're cringing at? How did that happen? Make it make sense. You know, two or three things can be true at the same time. Don't be fooled. Don't get it twisted, as they say. The more you push that part of yourself away, the more you're going to stay in the wilderness, the more you're going to be lost, the more you will never reach your full potential. It's not possible. It's not possible. So for me, part of networking is also about encouraging ourselves to reclaim these parts of ourselves, and for some people it will never happen. For some people it's gone so far they're not able to come back from it, and I feel sad because I say to myself, you know no matter how much you claim somebody else's tradition and culture, you know it's not yours. And you will never be 100% accepted. So that's a sadness, especially when you have something as rich as we do. Oh boy, when I think about it, days that I feel sad, days that I feel hugely challenged. I think of where I'm from. I think of the people who I come from. I think of the warriors. My name is Ogunbadejo. Well, my husband's name is Ogunbadejo. I'm Ogundipe. Ogun is god of war, god of strength, iron, all of that, all those traditions. You know, it it just I just smile at times when I think about it, because I say to myself, I come from something very special. And I want to, when I talk to other Africans, I talk to other people who love their culture, who feel uh, uh, a sense of identity. When I speak to them, it further makes me stronger. And this is how networking can help us as Africans. When we talk to one another, we help build ourselves up. We remind ourselves of our roots, where we've come from. We remind ourselves of our traditions, because living out here in the diaspora has done so much damage. And every day we're triggered by the racism, the constant, you know, um, visibility, the constant, denigration. It doesn't matter what you accomplish. Every day something will remind you that you are not of this place. I don't care what you do. I don't care how you want to look at it. So for you, but when I think, no matter what anybody says, I know something. I have a secret. I have a secret that lives within me. And when I speak to my fellow African, I speak to somebody else with a rich tradition and culture. I can see that they have that secret too. I can see that they understand it. And it's a wonderful feeling. And so I'm grateful to be able to speak to you today. And I'm thankful for this space. And I thank my brother Obehi.
Yeah, those areas you are going there, those are really deep thoughts. Many Africans I know, yeah, many Africans don't want to talk about that because, yeah, their heart is going to quake. Yeah, they don't want to talk about those identity things, those things related to you, because for many of us, we have been told that our ancestors are evil. So yeah, if you even have a dream, you have your ancestors inside. Oh, the devil, oh God, cast them and burn them. Oh, they are responsible for all the bad things that are happening in your life. Sister Gloria was asking a question. How did you get to that point? Okay, now, not only Sister Gloria, my Cummins was also asking the question. Who told you to hate yourself? How did it get to the point that you are a good person, but the source you are coming from is a bad one, that you need to cast and bound your people? How can you cast and bound your people for God's sake? How can you curse the root you are coming from? It is not possible. Something is wrong here. But unfortunately, many people, many Africans are not ready to even talk about it. They believe they already know. You see, I just finished to interview a US professor of African descent, of course, coming from Zimbabwe. We did 4 episodes. Each of them lasted sometimes up to 2 hours, sometimes 1 hour something. And he taught me a lot of things. For they are all interesting. They are all available also on our YouTube channel. In one of the episodes, we talked about personhood. He talked about personhood. If you understand the meaning of that, a deep philosophy, African philosophy of what a person even mean, then at the explanation, I said, based on your explanation, I can see now, it is clear to me that the Europeans who have committed all this evil against Africa have never grown up. Because if you have grown up, you will know what to do. You will understand that the human being you are dealing with is another human being like you. And actually, that person is you. Any evil you are doing against that person, you are doing it to yourself. But how can you do an evil to another person who is actually your mirror? It means you are ignorant. You haven't grown up. Because if you grown up, you will know. And he said something to the effect of that as a person, he described himself as somebody that cannot be separated. That is actually how the African philosophy define a man, which is why the way we see a human being is different from the way the Judeo-Christian and Western or Euro-Western philosophy would define a man or a human being. That himself, his ancestors, which is before him, the place that he lived, including the animal, everything is part of it. But that's not all. Including also the children that are unborn. All those are part of what made him a human being. Of course, I'm not able to explain it now with all the integrity that he added to it, but there is a message that we can get from that. If you can even manage to understand that, it means that everything you are doing, you should be conscious of the fact that you are doing this, putting in question where you are coming from, your people, their history, including those that are yet unborn. Can we literally say to ourselves that what we are doing now is what we will do if we understand that? It's a self-examination. Because if you are conscious of the fact that you are a representative of your father, your father's father, the father of your father, and that father too, you will be conscious of what you do. And if you also understand that whatever you are doing now will affect the children yet unborn, the action that you take you will be careful of them. Because that is the way it is really. The scientists can tell you of epigenetic. Epigenetic, they are talking of the transfer of experiences that a parent have had, but it will be passed to the children. The children will then come to suffer it. Have we not been taught of this in African spirituality? Did we not know about this before? Among Africa, it will be said that the sins of the father will be visited upon the children up to the 4th or 5th generation. I think they also said something like that in the Bible. Science can confirm it. That what our ancestors have passed through, we can suffer that. Not just by figurative expression, but literally. If we know that, then we should be careful of what we do. Because we are in a network. We are in a network of before us, right now where we is, and after us. We are not alone. We cannot be alone. So thank you so much, Gloria, for your sharing. I can see 2 people that are here wanting to share with us. I can see Ajon Benanji and Mosidisi. Thank you, my sister. All right, we have to start with the women. Ajon, you need to pardon me because the women first. Mosidisi, please share with us.
Thank you, Obehi. I'm always very inspired by what you share and also inspired by Gloria. So with what you said, I came across a concept called the morphogenetic field, which is a field of vibration that carries information. In South Africa, we have the 1957 Witchcraft Suppression Act, which was inspired by the Witchcraft Suppression Act of England in 1735. So I have decided that I want to lecture on bringing a different narrative around healing and healers. So I'm a healer, and for a very long time, I did not accept who I was. And I have discovered that laws and acts are put into place to exterminate different forms of knowledge. So because there isn't an understanding of the non-scientific way of learning, non-scientific ways of getting information from our ancestors, like Sister Gloria say, this was brought to me by my ancestors. People want a logical explanation of how that happens, but it's not always possible. So because we don't understand something, we won't embrace it, and therefore we then will put laws into place to criminalize that. When something is made criminal and I can be put into prison for seeing a healer, that brings about shame, that brings about fear, that brings about a whole lot of negative emotions that then get associated with that practice or with that discipline. This is where then for me, so if in 1957 or in 1735 down my ancestral lineage, like you're explaining it through epigenetics, and how information lives through us, especially as women, because my grandmother carried my mother, and my mother carried me. And through our embryos that we as women need when we birth, a part of me was in my grandmother. So the three of us have been connected for a very long time. So if my grandmother experienced negativity, either she was a healer or went to consult a healer, and she was probably hurt and shamed because of that, the morphogenetic field, which is a field of vibration, is still carrying that energy until I step into this place educated to say, I understand how this works. How do we then transform this energy so that we can birth a society that embraces healing, that embraces what is alternative, what is indigenous, what is traditional, and see it as pride. So if we have more glorious, more Obehi, more MCs, more Mutsirisis, we get to transform that energy, which is still contained in the morphogenetic field, so that when I talk about my ancestors, there's an understanding that this is from a place of pride, from a place of love and joy, because there's so much richness and um so much to celebrate about us and how Africans heal, how Africans transform, and how Africans birth things. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for that. That is so rich. That is so valuable. It's really so valuable. That is something I would just like to add there, because sometimes it is not very clear for us, even when we begin to embark on our mission. But at a point, it becomes clearer because the messages, it is said, they come to you in whisper. They don't come to you in loudspeaker that, hey, this is your message. No, it comes to you in whisper. But if you get that, you will be fulfilled in your life because you are doing what you are supposed to do. Now, there is an African adage that I would like to quote. This was quoted to me by a guest. Being a podcaster, I learned a lot of things because I talked to a lot of people. He said like this, that when the gods send a blind man to the battle, his blindness is included in the mission. So he is supposed to win, but win as the blind men do. I'm saying that to mean this. If you hear what we are saying and you feel inspired, you want to take action, don't say you must be like A or B before you start. No, start where you are. Start where you are right now. Because where you are right now is part of the core. What you know right now is part of it. We are not alone. We are part of a long history. So if your ancestors have sent a message to you to rise up and be a light for your people, in your way, don't say, no, you need to be like another person before. No. Calm down. Take it up where you are, with what you know, where you are right now, then run with it. Say you are blind, don't worry, go the way the blind men do. What if you cannot walk? Do it the way that people that don't walk do. What if you are a singer? Then sing. You don't need to be a writer now. If you are a writer, do it. You don't mean, no, I must sing before they can hear me. No. The way you came to this world, there was some element in you that you can use to be able to shine. So use those elements. You don't need other thing. Maybe all you just need to do is to talk. That is a powerful thing, So all of us are called to the mission of networking, of connecting, of celebrating our heritage, of having the people understand that we represent a shining bright star, that we are people that are proud of ourselves, that we now, knowing what we know, reject the discrimination, reject the miseducation that we have been given, because now we can educate ourselves. And in the history of African diaspora, there are a lot of people that have done this. People like Marcus Garvey, he educated himself. So if he can do it, then you can do it because you are like him. So it is possible for us. Let's network, let's connect that we cannot be broken. because we are all connected. You see, in the film, I think it's called The Amazing Grace. One of the actor there at the point said, "I will call upon my ancestors, and they will respond to me because I'm the only reason they have existed at all." You see, he knows the power upon which he's standing. You see, even death cannot stop us because we as a people understand it this way. If you know that, then let nobody threaten you. Nobody can threaten you. Do know what is right and do what is right. Not even to the point of death because you know who you are. All right. Dear John, please go ahead and share with us.
Thank you very much, Gloria Motsirishi. I hope I got it right. Obehi. This topic uh, made me remember last week I was speaking with some people live on a program on Africa. I had a suggestion. I said, you woke up from your bed in South Africa, you went to an ex country, you did well, and no matter which country, you would still be called a person of an African origin. So why not? Why not consider sending note to nothing else, just either to your parents or to your brothers and sisters or to a small little charity which you trust? You'd be surprised, Obehi, my friend. One of the very eminent gentlemen retorted, and I was shocked. I was shocked. He said they are very, very rich. What do they need it for? That told me one thing. When the diaspora has the power to even make 1 millionth of a drop in the ocean of a continent where the human beings, which history tells us began, we originated from Africa. The world knows it. Every learned man knows it. If the Sahara deserts could have relics of the blue whale and even larger megalodons, that is the continent we belong to. And today, for petty gains of a couple of dollars or pounds sterlings or whatever, are we forgetting the basic roots? I have been to Africa. I have stayed for decades in Europe. I had a choice: stay in the US, Canada, or come back to the country. I came back to the country. I knew I had worked with sincerity, made enough for me and my family. Now comes the turn to pay back. I was very interested in what Mochiri said. Pardon my pronunciation. We have, like Africa in Asia, we have voodoos and healing doctors, and we have things we cannot explain, but they work. Believe me, they work. I am a doctor by profession. Whatever I do X, Y, Z, hell of a lot. But doesn't matter. Science cannot explain. Even today, aliens, they cannot even look, peer into what is in the core of the earth, what is in the universe. We are talking about centuries and centuries, where our grandfathers, their great grandfather, they all originated that wisdom. And today we laugh it off and talk about AI. I am amazed. And I think, my dear friend Obehi, we need more people. You are a very eminent gentleman. We need more people to, because I have 15 plans. I do not share it on the networking because I know somebody will take those ideas. But when I start to request people from the African diaspora to join me in an effort, not one, 4 posts, except one maybe or two maybe, not anybody's bothered because it doesn't bother them. I'm shocked, sir. I'm shocked. I'm not an African. I'm a human like you, sir. But we have seen poverty. When I flew away from India, excuse me, decades back, it was Africa. When I came back, it was not Africa. But if in our living times, if we can change it, I am the first person who would have a smile on my face if we can do it. Thank you very much, sir. All the very best. Over to you.
Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate it. We do. We really do. Now, I would like to share something that my professor friend shared with me in the episode. Because, of course, he's a professor of Africana study in Texas. So he said, then, of course, I was asking a question relating to Judeo-Christian idea, where, for example, a human being as see as slave who need to then become qualified before they can be called the children of God. I was a Catholic for a very, very many years, so believe me when I say this. If you are a Catholic and you die, of course, we learn this in catechism, and you are not baptized, you are not going to heaven. There is another place you are going. It's called purgatory. Now, all this doesn't exist in African spirituality, because I was asking him, at what point then are we children of God? He said, well, because by then he already explained something before, which is that we are all part of it. We have been part of it since the beginning. And of course, he said, and it's correct, you have been qualified since the beginning. So since the day that you were born, you were already qualified. And he added that irrespective of who you are, wherever you are coming from, are you a Chinese? Are you Indian? Are you an American? Are you a European? Are you African? You are part of it. Note that you are part of it. Then he asked, now that you know that you are qualified, that you're already part of it, you don't need to demonstrate anything. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. What is left for you is to live. What kind of life are you going to live now? That is the question that he asked. And I left the question like that. Because I think people need to reflect sometime, knowing that their life is not just about them, but also about other people, because we are all connected. All right, with that, we are moving towards the conclusion of the episode, because I think this is really very important conversation. So I move to my sister Gloria. So Gloria, what would be your final thought today to conclude this conversation? Because I think it really has been very interesting hearing all your contribution here. But this is the last one. What would you say?
Thank you, Brother Obehi, and thank you for those who have remained to the end. Very much appreciate you. I'd like to leave you with three African proverbs. Again, African proverbs are so powerful, and you can interpret them in so many different ways. I'll leave you with them and see how they speak to you and what meaning they have in your lives. The first one, no matter how fast a car goes, it can never overrun the road. It will always meet it ahead. No matter how fast the car goes, it can never overrun the road. It will always meet it ahead. The second one, the mouth and tongue quarrel, and no one knows how and when they make up. The mouth and tongue quarrel, and no one knows how and when they make up. And the third one, no matter how much a fish bathes in the ocean, a fish will always smell like a fish. No matter how much a fish bathes in the ocean, a fish will always smell like a fish. So, brothers and sisters, ancestral lineage healing serves as a powerful integral component of networking among Africans in the diaspora, fostering connection, healing, and empowerment within their identity. We may have quarreled at different times for a variety of reasons, but when we make up and how we make up, nobody knows. Nobody needs to know. We know. And we know that when we come together, we know it lifts us all up. By honoring our shared ancestral heritage, we can build relationships based on trust, solidarity, and mutual respect. Mutual respect, creating a foundation for collective healing and transformation. I respect you. I love you all. You're my brothers and sisters. I bless you. Alafia. Thank you.
Alafia. Thank you so much, sister. And I appreciate you. I really do. I want to appreciate also the people that are in the audience. We appreciate you all for your presence here. Michael, B. Hostin, Yamuka, Yason Tafari, Tendai, Rita, Stella, and Tolulope, and Lisanda. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate your presence. We are not taking it for granted. It is important for us. Yeah, that is it. Our solution is in all of us, that when we can work together, nothing can stop us. I am not saying that just for saying sake. It is the truth. Nothing can stop us if we work together as a people. So that is why we are talking about networking among ourselves. It's going to be relevant for us if we want to heal ourselves. By that meaning, talking to one another, getting advice. Because imagine in my own case, if I never talked to the person that I met in Italy who came to present his book, I would probably not be able to get to the online educational platform that I got. He didn't need to pay for me. He just need to share information with me that it is possible. This is how it is all across in everything that I've done in my life. I didn't do it because I am smart, because I am powerful, because I am knowledgeable. I have been able to get to where I am today thanks to people and those who have helped me along the way. That is how life goes. So that means connection. We need to connect to one another, help each other to grow, to rise. You see, it is said that to lift somebody up, you first need to raise your head up and look at the star. It is not possible to lift somebody up and you are looking down, which means that to lift somebody down too, you need to be looking at the ground, which means you are falling if you want to force somebody else. But if you are rising somebody, you are equally rising along with the person. We need this. We need a lot of this in Africa diaspora today. We need to rise ourselves, because as we are rising an individual, all of us are rising together because we are all connected. All right, before we go, I see Yason Tafari. Please go ahead and share with us.
Grand Rising, everybody. I give thanks for the opportunity to just, share a few words before you actually make your exodus. The presentation was very, very excellent, and I think this conversation is very much needed for us, especially who are from the Caribbean. It is much of a challenge, and I guess you would understand maybe why people like Marcus Garvey is so passionate about it, because our experience is slightly different in the sense that even like you were born in Africa, so you were able to gather some of that experience even before you find yourself in the diaspora. So you have that connection that you can go back to. We were taken from the continent, and we were stripped, or at least our foreparents were stripped of everything. So basically, what we are experiencing, we're still even ignorant to some extent of that which we are retrieving from our ancestors, which we know it's that experience, but we don't have that concrete experience, and so we are still in some cases searching for that reconnection. And so this opportunity that you are creating here is doing such a wonderful thing, and I think that we should, in the diaspora, wherever we are, should seek to gather and make these opportunities a success. There was a question that was asked earlier in regards to now we're here, how did we get here? In response to that, I think one of the things that should be entered into the conversation is the actual intent and plan for us to be this way, because it was designed by the division, how in terms of Europe would have divided Africa and the Caribbean. And so you have the languages and the differences. And if you go back and think of Willie Lynch and the plan in terms of keeping us divided, so there is that conscious psychological intent to still have us divided. And so that is probably something that we could seek to engage further. How do we tackle the decolonization of the mind? Because that was a tool that was used mostly after the enslavement era, so to speak, to mentally keep us this way, so that we are, with all these different division, whether it's religion, whether it's thinking that you're more educated or more qualified, or all of these different little tools of division or politics or whatever it is to keep us divided. How do we dismantle these things so that we can get back to recognizing, as we all saying here, that we are first and foremost humans and connected to that original source, however you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, whether it's God or Buddha, or, you are connected to that source, and we have a right to that source. And so we can, if we are able to dismantle that neocolonial mindset, get back to that point where we could be together as one and do what is necessary right now and needed. One Africa, one Caribbean.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Tafari. That is a very important conversation that you shared there. And it's also an important question. How do we do this? But I think actually is that we are going to connect first and then solve the problem. We don't need to solve the problem first before we can connect to our root. Because connecting to our inability to connect to our root is actually the problem. And this problem is not only for people in the diaspora, it's also for people in Africa. If you go to my village, which is in Nigeria now, the people there have been there for forever. And you mention the name ancestors to them. Of course, not all of them, I have to be very clear on that. Many of them will literally make a sign of the cross, as if the devil have come. That is how perfect the miseducation has been. And I can be certain that anywhere you go in Nigeria is the same. Which is to say that the person who have worked out this plan to divide us, to create enmity between us on the ground that we are standing on, have been successful. I want to repeat that again. Somebody have succeeded in creating enmity between us and where we are standing, so that we can be uprooted. We don't have root. If you don't have root, how can you bear fruit?
That's part of what I'm alluding to, because okay, like in your case when you spoke of Nigeria, like look at our situation in the Caribbean, for example. We're coming from, so to speak, a legacy of enslavement, where that tradition that you can go back to Nigeria and see and source and experience, and that never changed, because even though Nigeria was colonized to some extent, you all were not taken from your culture. So they might have colonized a few and the minds of a few, but at least the traditions were maintained. We had the experience where the missionaries came in, and so we can look back to that history to see how that was a part of the plan, where they utilized the Bible and religion as a part of the plan to keep us divided and disconnected from our spiritual source, because they know that we were all spiritual. So religion was used as a tool or as a weapon to also keep us away from that spirituality. But we have to go back. We know are now recognizing that. So imagine you being a part of something that you didn't even know or don't even know is used against you. And when you now recognize that trying to get back to what you should, but you don't even know what you should. So that's what I'm saying. It's even more challenging for Diaspora, where you can go to Nigeria, so to speak, and get it, but we don't even know where for some in the diaspora, some came from Ghana, some came from different, but we don't know where to go for it. But we know we need it, and we know it's a part of us. So that's part of the struggle.
Brother Johansson, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. So much love for what you've said, and that is why it's more egregious, if that's the word, how to pronounce it, for us who are originally from the motherland, quote unquote. For
Right.
us, yeah, it's even more upsetting that we who know better, we who, a lot of the people who have turned away from their culture and their traditions, they they know these traditions. They were raised by these traditions. Their grandmothers, when they pray in their moment of most despair, when they pray to their ancestors. And I ask them, when you pray and you these prayers and you mention your ancestors, these are the same ancestors you are telling me that they're the devil. So how do you see how your mind is completely chaotic? Because when you are in your deepest need, you just automatically, you say that your ancestors will not sleep when somebody is against you. If a mother is praying on her child, she calls on all the ancestors who have gone, her mother's mother. She just does it instinctively. So I'm saying that's something that's within you, and then you step away from that and curse it and condemn it, and the next minute you're saying it's something that is of the devil, because you want to follow a new religion. So I have more, I don't want to use the word simple. I have more empathy for you, brother, and people who come from cultures where they've been uprooted from Africa. I have more love and more kindness and more understanding than for people who come, they're living in the land. You get what I'm saying? I have so
Yes.
much
Yes.
passion when I hear, my brothers and sisters, say talk like this, and I say the thing is so deeply entrenched, and I was saying, when did you become like this? And not only in the diaspora, even in Africa, because now the churches are everywhere, and we all know what, is big business. We all know what they're doing in those places. So it's a real malaise. It's a real sickness, and something of great concern. Even myself, you know, before I stepped into this work of ancestral lineage, I was hesitant, because I knew the response, but I was called the same way I was called to go into the seminary and become an ordained minister. And I wanted to, remove myself from that title. But my people said, no, that's part of your journey. You don't have to, step away from it. Be in your authentic self. The two can sit together, because God, Olodumare, however you want to call it, it's one God. It's just how people have distorted it and made it into something ugly, and a way of keeping us down, and how our people refuse to you know to see it, even though every now and then, a lot of my minister colleagues, I see them following me. The ones who have told me that I'm doing the work of the devil, I see them following me, and I just smile, because someone said to me, just do what you have been called to do, and your light will shine, and you will spread. People who will be drawn to the light will be drawn. And I see them. I say, that's Sister Sarah that was telling me this is the devil's word. That's Sister Catherine. I see her following me. So because you can't separate yourself from who you are. You can try for a while, and a few things will happen. One, you will never feel right. You will always feel something is missing. Two, you will allow yourself to be used and abused and treated with disdain. Three, you will eventually feel the sickness that you've allowed yourself to be a part of. And for people step out away from it. And once you do it, it's just like you're saying, it's a natural. When you hear it, people hear things, and when you hear the truth, my grandmother always say, when you hear the truth, you know it. And they also say in my language, what is bad until down. What is bad is bad. There's no way you can dress it in every configuration. It's still bad. And so sorry, I'm getting a bit overexcited.
Thank you so much for that. That is great. That is great. I love that contribution. Yeah. Thank you. Thank also
Yes,
to
so thank you very much for the response, and I know you're wrapping up, and so I think though this would be something that we could probably have as a further discussion at some other point, and Gloria, from the spiritual standpoint, I guess part of it is for us also to understand how uh, the use of religion um, is a part of that mental enslavement that is taking place, because even though Obehi said that he was a part of the Roman Catholic, it was, I think it's the fifth pope who actually instituted uh, slavery and claimed that we were less than humans. And so it's some of these things, if we don't do the research and realize that a part of it was the mental and is the mental enslavement, and the division was psychologically planned out. And until we unleave or go back through that book and recognize these things and point out these things, we are going to not be as successful. And I'm hoping that opportunities like these, networking opportunities like these, can help to demystify these things and break down this neo-colonial mindset and these psychological plans that were organized for us. So give thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you so much for that. We appreciate you, brother, and we appreciate you also, sisters, for the contribution. It means that what we are doing is right. Yeah, what we are doing is right. You see, a couple of days ago, I interviewed an expert on Ifa theology. And of course, the video is not yet out because it is important. Some of these ideas, we need to discuss them. Anything at all that have happened to us, we need to talk about it. We are talking about it not just because we are angry with people, but because we want to heal ourselves too. And in terms of the connection and interconnectivity, we are also doing this intentionally. Now, you might be somewhere in the Caribbean, and I am in Italy, or some other person that might be in Germany, or in the US, or in UK. Now we have the tools to be able to connect among ourselves. Now, let's talk to each other. You see, for very many hundreds of years, the African diaspora, of course, because of the fact that they have been exported away from Africa, they didn't have direct contact. There is no internet, there is no telephone conversation and all of that. The Europeans were doing the middleman. They still want to do the middleman today. Let me explain quickly before we close. In that they want to be the one telling the African, the diaspora, what the people in Africa are thinking, who they are, what they do. And they also want to do the same for the people in the Africa, telling them these are the people in the diaspora, this is what they do, this is who they are. Can you see how much power we place in their hands? Can we see how much privilege we put in their hands? They can confuse us anytime. They can play us like we are just like game that they are playing all the time. In politics, in religion, in business, in any area. We want, in education, most importantly. Do you still know, until today, 2024, a lot of experts of African history are European. How can we allow this? How can we allow this to continue? Michael Mess, I think, was saying, how can you allow the enemy to train your children? We are still not conscious of the fact that this is wrong. That is the point. Many Africans, including the African academia, still haven't realized that this is wrong. That I'm not saying that they cannot teach our children anything at all, but I'm saying that European cannot be the expert of African history teaching African people. They can teach African history to themselves. That is fine. It's just like, for example, I am living in Italy. I will be the one teaching Italian about Italian history. That is the job for another person. I can teach them about mathematics, physics, maybe. Because history is not just that. They're not just dates or figure or experiences. There are emotion that is buried in it. All these are important. So it's not something that will happen just because, we just jump into it, or just because it just happens suddenly. No, they are intentional things. We need to be intentional about how we write about it, how we speak about it, how we represent ourselves, because we are doing it intentionally. Anyway, that is the conversation for today. And I want to thank all of you for being here. We are here every 40 days. Please come around again in 40 days time, where we'll be taking on another topic on African Diaspora Storytelling Series. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure here. I'm so happy to all of you that are being here, sharing the room with us. Thank you so much.